Righty-ho, so we are back in the boot of the Mark 7. If you followed these episodes, this will feel familiar, albeit with different kit. So we're going to, what I've been doing, I have installed a few things in this boot. In fact, me, Stu and Jamie have both we've all done a little bit in here, just sort of between jobs and things like that. So I'm going to talk you through today. Primarily I'm going to focus on the brand new Audison SR6.600. Talk about some of its numbers, but the majority I'll put on screen because it's a highly configurable amplifier. Anything with 6 channels, 3 stereo pairs, but it's effectively a hybrid in its power output, not hybrid in its topology, so it's not sort of class A, B and class D. It's fully class D, but it is power managed, shall we say, from the factory. 4x85 watts at 4 ohms and 2x110 at 4 ohms on channels 5 and 6, and then you can bridge them, and you can bridge to 2 ohms as well. Also, channels 5 and 6 are 1 ohm stable, so in stereo that'll give you 330 watts left and right. Now I'm kicking myself a little bit because I've gone through these numbers for you guys. I'm interested in the 6.600 as it is because it's a new Audison product. It's hot off the press. But I think I should have got 2 because I reckon in a nice sort of relatively simple SQ system, because it's a £600 amp, so it's 599. It would be nice to have a stereo pair of them because it'll do something like 230 watts per channel at bridged. So in a 3-channel mode, effectively, so 240 watts or 230 watts for 2 channels. And then it will do 300 watts. Bear with me. Because it will do, I've brought my laptop in now because there's a lot of numbers associated with this amplifier. It'll do 280 watts times 2 at 4 ohm and then 370 watts at 4 ohm. So you could have tweeter, mid bass with a ton of power, 1 for each side. And it'll do at 4 ohm again 260 watts for 2 channels, so bridged 4 ohm, and then it'll give you 600 watts at 2 ohm on the back end, on the rear channel. So that's times 1, yeah, because we're bridging that down. So you could have a monster mid bass stage at 1 ohm if you strap a bunch of drivers together, get 600 watts out of it there. So it's a highly versatile amplifier that, you know, as these things come out, as multi-channel amplifiers come out, especially sort of non-DSP multi-channel amplifiers come out, they bear thinking about in how they can be used because they can minimize footprint. Of course, in here we're using the SR1.500 and the 6.600 because we're going to run a 3-way front end and subwoofer, and that's it for the time being. But like I say, you could, if you wanted to take it, I would hazard a guess a lot further. You could run 2 SR6.600s. You could run 1 on the left and 1 on the right. And if you've not experienced that before, that sort of channel separation between 2 separate amplifiers running left and right, it brings a lot to the table. Angle change, battery just ran out. So yeah, there's a lot going on in a standard amplifier with a lot of it's got a lot to do. So when you're running stereo within a standard amplifier, you can get crosstalk, which isn't really that audible, and you won't notice it until you hear a left and right channel that have been separated. And separated by that I mean, you know, separate amplifiers, separate power supplies and things like that. That sort of signal separation, it sounds quite special, quite dynamic. So that's a system that I've ran like that for years and years where I can. So anyway, I'm nattering on now. Let's discuss the installation into the Mark 7's boot, and I'll take you around some of the little bits and bobs that have been done around here. So as you can see from my last video, I was saying we'll have to deal with all the mess. When I opened the boot, it wasn't actually that messy. We've got some excess going on around here because the different cables were ran in different areas for the amplifiers, but we switched this logo around so it faces this way. That amp's actually facing that way, and this one is facing this way. This is the 1.500 and this is the SR6.600. And then yeah, that's about it really. I'll tidy these speaker cables up now. This is running the front three-way. I'll put a subwoofer, well, that's already been done. The subwoofer cable's already in there. RCAs are in. It actually looks like all I have to do now is tie this down. So you see, like I was saying earlier, me, Stu and Jamie have done, you know, a little bit of work in this as and when we can over the past few days. So I'm not entirely sure where we're up to, so I'm gonna have to take it in and let's work on it. Right, so a quick run through. Once I've got rid of this lens cap, I had to remove a piece of this frame here because if you remember, this matching frame over here was the same this side. It doesn't do anything other than give support to the top flat floor for the fabrication. Now we don't run that very often, so I could actually remove this frame, but I find it a nice boundary for all the equipment and to keep the cables tidy. We've got our distro block over here, the cap's loose, that's on there now. We've got power and remote's coming from the DSP and it's just tied in around the other cables, but we've got ground coming from there and power from the other side for the DSP, which is fused here. And then our fusing is done locally for our amplifiers. We've removed the power and ground from here because we were running 3 amplifiers and we've just added a small one in. I've got some little stainless shims for underneath the bit 1 HD here, so that's rock solid, but it's just to space it off because this sort of trimmed panel that we had underneath the JL amps is lower than the actual floor panel. So what I'm probably going to do now, because it looks like the lads have actually finish this, it actually looks like it with a fuse in there and 2 in here, this is going to turn on. I'm going to whip these covers off and make sure, I've already done this one, I just want to make sure the filters are wide open and the gains are roughly set for now until we can turn it on. I'm going to whip this one open and then I'll talk to you about a little bit more about the SR6.600. I'm going to use my Genesis tuning screwdriver that I've had for 1,000 years. Gordon gave me this with a number of Series 3s that I used to have in my M5, so it means a lot to me, this little fella. Right, okay, well, of course we're going to have a sort of slew of knobs in here. Art we don't want on, that's automatic remote turn on, which means it will turn on from speaker level inputs. This thing will deal with 40 volts on its input, so there aren't many OEM scenarios where you can't reamp with this, i.e. run an OEM amplifier into it to either boost power or get a bit more control, effectively removing the need for a lock or a line output converter, which typically can deal with higher volts and then send out RCA. This can just deal with it straight on the input. We've got input A. Now I want to, mine are always full, so I don't really need to deal with any of these settings. I'm just going to 12 o'clock my levels just for now. Just until we're set up and we can actually play some tones. But if I just pop that there, it's just a half decent middle ground. I don't want my mode turned on because what that does is that switches between, say, a high pass output, so A would be some form of high pass mode, or this means if it's up it means it's in full range, so effectively there is no filtering going on. So all of these, yeah, mono left, so that is for bridging. You would turn that on if you're bridging the channel, leave it off if you're not bridging the channel. We aren't bridging in this, we're running a 3 ohm driver, so we're going to get a little bit more power from the rear channels. C we want in full, and B we want in full because we're running this fully active. We're only really interested in this for its application in this car. C is, input C is on, input B is on, mono left is off because that belongs to A channel. See these lines? these section off each part of the amplifier. So this is A, which will be 1 and 2, B 3 and 4, C 5 and 6. So these are the higher power settings. Yeah, so full range on all of them for me because they're fully active. And then there's only a high or full switch here. You can't band past this. You can band past B, so you could run bass, mid-range tweeters from this. So you could run a 3-way active front end without DSP if you wanted to. That's how I ran the van for a little while. But this will do for now. So let's just pop that panel back on just so we don't lose anything. And then we know we're good. We can do some neatening up. And I wasn't planning on showing you it firing up in this video, but we may as well give it a crack because it's raining outside. Cheeky little R600 airbox. Right, where are you, Fuse? See if it turns on, shall we? Right, we're on. We're turning and burning. Get it plugged in. I'm going to put this boot floor back in so I can put the subwoofer on. And then we're... mine's doing 1,000 miles an hour at the minute. Let's go. So that's where we've ended up today. Now, of course, this will be neatened up further once we know everything's absolutely perfect, so everything will be straightened up and tied down. But for now, the floor can go down, the subwoofer can go on, we can plug a DSP in, we can set things up safely, get a bass tune on there, and then we can go from there. Once we know we're happy, then we'll deal with all the tidying up, you know? In there. This is the new Hertz MK7.5R EP7, I think. Yeah, 250S2. Tinned ends on this wire because I'm constantly mucking around with my subwoofer, so it's constantly in and out. There you go. Fold that cable back down in a minute, and then so that it is as far back as it'll go, but not necessarily touching the seats because I don't want it. Oh God! Oh blimey! I don't want it using the seats as a speaker. Cool beans. And that's it in there. Right. It's not that much of a commitment, is it? You can still fit pretty much everything you would fit in there, minus a couple of shoe boxes. Right, so I've got some tuning to do now. I know everything's working just fine. I've wound the gain right back down on the amplifier just for now, and then I might have to give it a little bit more lick on the mid bass, but we're working and we're sounding just fine. There's plenty of sub bass at the minute because I haven't got a DRC, so I need to leave myself with a little bit too much, so when I'm on the road it sort of levels out, because I haven't got on the fly control right now, but I will have shortly. This is it's nice and smooth. It's sounding nice and smooth, other than the sort of thick sub bass at the moment. Yeah, we're getting there. Right. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a little bit more boring than the others, but a little bit more technical, I suppose, so I hope you get something out of it. But this is the Mk7, it's episode 7. It's all Audison kit, Hertz front end, Hertz Melee Pro front end, so they're middle of the line. It's a £500 component set. The SR6.600 is £599. The DSP is expensive, it's £14.99, but that's their top DSP, the HD Virtuoso. And the SR1.500 I think is £449, but don't quote me on that, I'll put it on the screen. Yeah, wicked. Right, okay. I'm a little bit, you know, this is live, so I'm at least recording it live. Of course I am. Do you ever record in any other way? But yeah, my emotive response is live, so my mind is triggered right now. This is me in, I suppose, the zone, and it's a little bit of a hindrance having to talk about it. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna carry on, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy, guys. I'm Caraudio Studio Incar, and this is our Mk7. All right.